Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted with the confetti. Yeah, I like this where it's like, okay, I can start another timer. How do we get out of here? We're actually stuck in an infinite loop here. I don't think it's quite getting it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to NDC. Have you ever wondered how far we can push AI encoding? I mean, like, really push it? Well, I have, and that's what this video is all about. For the next 7 days, I'm going to be embarking on a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to attempt to build a fully functional iOS app from scratch, but the thing is, I can't personally write any lines of code, not a single one. Every single character of code, every function, UI element, must be generated by AI. I'm going to be using our copilot here of ChatGPT. I'm going to use the client just to kind of go through the initial steps, and then I'm going to be using the Xcode 26 integration for the rest of the series. This isn't just for a gimmick though. I want to explore the true capabilities of AI as a coding partner, understanding its limitations, and see if it is truly possible to vibe code app without ever touching the keyboard for coding. I'm going to be building a gamified Pomodoro app. I'm going to call it maybe something like Focus Roulette, where each work session is going to spin a customizable reward wheel for motivation. So we're going to have things like timers, local storage, cool animations, again, all generated by AI. Will it work? Will it be a hilarious failure? I don't know. Stick around for the rest of the video to find out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on into day one. With the ground rules set, it is now time to have ChatGPT help us create the project. I asked it for project creation steps. Everything was pretty normal. It also suggested we enable testing. I did confirm because on my version there is 2 different testing models, which one to use, as well as it suggested that we enabled core data. Now if you've ever enabled core data before, you'll notice that your kind of app starting template is a little bit different, but it ended up giving us a copy and paste template for our content view to get us started. So far, so good. From now on, we're going to be using the integration built into Xcode, and we definitely have some errors here. So for the first 2 errors that I have here, it's identifying that, hey, you're missing a couple of these views, and it's asking if I want it to automatically create placeholder files, or would you prefer to see an example with them at the end of our Swift file. So I'll just be like, hey, create those new files. I'm absolutely vibing out with the vibe code right now. I got some music going on in here, just absolutely chilling, and ChatGPT is just hanging out with me. The vibes were definitely immaculate, and it was pretty cool just starting off to give plain English instructions and to see the design. I actually really liked the initial homepage that it created for us. There were a couple hiccups, like it removed the navigation, so I just had to ask to move it back, but so far a pretty solid start. I love how it's always just like, would you like to make this change for you? I'm just like, yep. Is there a way to just tell it, like, always make the change? I did notice, and this is something with SwiftUI, it didn't really enjoy generating previews, so I had to be very explicit after it would create the view to be like, hey, can you generate a preview? But again, just being explicit and maybe just learning to prompt when we are creating those new views, that's just a little bit of the learning curve. The next thing I wanted to try to create was the skeleton of the app. I wanted to have somewhat of a timer working, a little bit of the rewards wheel, and maybe the profile page for day 1. I don't know, am I supposed to be nice to the AI overlord? Some people say that if you say like please and thank you don't get the best results, but I don't know, I'm Canadian, that's in my blood. Honestly, pleasantly surprised with how the logic of the timer went and the eventual design. You'll see in a second that the accessibility wasn't perfect, but the design with this kind of progress wheel, changing the colors between the different states, whether it was running or being paused, honestly, it was really polished and it got the ask pretty much right away. I wonder if it knows about accessibility and colors, because just like with the home screen, the orange here is a little bit hard to see. It does dynamically update to this white on like more of a teal-ish color. which is fine when it's running, but when it's paused, it's a little bit hard to see. Continued to make improvements to the timer, and it honestly was really, really smooth. I really enjoyed reading the insights and the logic that it was using to accomplish its goal. Satisfied with the results of the timer, I thought, hey, let's also create a rewards wheel that the user can spin. Eventually we can add some user input for different rewards. So after you do your studying or work for 25 minutes, 5 minutes of a reward time. The timer went really well, so surely the rewards wheel would go really well as well. But let's take a look at what we created on day one. Alrighty, I think we've been going on for about 25, maybe 30 minutes. Hard to tell when I'm doing the recording. But this is Focus Roulette day one. So we have a little bit of a landing splash screen, not entirely satisfied with the color, but we can obviously change it a little bit more. And still, like, can you beat the roulette? It's a little aggressive. Anyways, we can press on our start focus session, and we do have a timer that we can start. The colors and, background dynamics change based off the condition if we pause, right? Actually, I'm curious, will this keep running in the background? I'm going to do a quick test. So we're at 24:48. All right, we're gonna minimize it and I'll come back to it in like a minute. Maybe some time's gone by. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't look like it's actually properly running in the background, but we can reset the timer. The timer logic works, but not when it's in the background. So we'll go through some steps to fix that later. We also have the rewards. It's close. The wheel spins though. That's pretty cool. Hey, treat myself. That's the reward. There's some confetti and it all hangs out at the bottom of the screen. And once we've spun the wheel, we're a little bit stuck. I'm still laughing about can we come back here? Okay, it refreshes when, is it always going to pick blue? Okay, stretch break. Woo! Okay, so you can see there's clearly some work that needs to be done. Logic is kind of there, but that's day two's problem. Like I said, I think I've spent about 25 minutes working on this in the background. Just like when I write code, we got to test things. You got to make sure it works. It kind of understood the instruction, but maybe I need to be like, hey, one of those rewards should be on each slice of the pie, not whatever this is. And we also have to add an option to like reset. Maybe we can have to add different like wheel modes or like a token to respin. There's clearly lots of improvements. This one also doesn't really have any background, but for day one, not too bad. So like my day one takeaway, it's pretty cool to just give the instructions and see what it creates. I am finding that I do need to be very specific, as well as reminding it about accessibility, because it seems to just throw whatever colors together. I started off the day by doing a quick recap of what we had accomplished yesterday, double checking that the timer didn't persist when the app was closed, but I knew my main goal for the day was to get that pie wheel to look and function the best it possibly could. I don't know if using words like this current prompt I'm using, I'm saying the rewards view is a little bit cursed. I don't know if, because to me that's how I would speak and I would convey things. I don't know if that's going to impact how it understands that we need to make these changes, but maybe I'll be specific and say currently all the rewards are stuck on one panel. The art of prompting was something that was taking a bit of a learning curve, as well as should I be giving all the fixes right away? Should I be specifying, hey, fix this prompt by prompt? Was certain wording required? I wanted to vibe code, but also not feel like I was writing the code. Did understand my feedback, but the implementation's still a little bit weird. All of the rewards are still on one tile. The gradient, I don't know what's going on here, and there's also like a gap. So maybe it's on me to be a bit more clear. The design entirely started to really crumble, from not understanding the way the pie was laid out to this really weird background. I was starting to notice some major pitfalls. Okay, so it looks like it recognized its mistake that the gradient isn't covering the whole screen because the background is being applied after the overlay. Now the slices of the pie This is where my sanity started to disappear. It felt like no matter how I tried to explain it, it just wasn't understanding the idea. And again, if we're a programmer or a designer, we look at what's at the screen right now, this is unusable for the user. So I tried my best to get creative. Okay. I don't think it's quite getting it. So maybe I need to be a bit more specific. Okay, to fix this, replacing text without applying clip shape. We're back to where we just started. Yikes. I think this is one of the first roadblocks, and it could be the way that I'm explaining it. I started to doubt myself a lot more than ever, and I even remembered there's the upload image. So I thought, hey, I'll take a screenshot of this slice of pie, I'll upload the image and be like, hey, can you recognize the text here and how it's all clumped? And this, doesn't look right. Well, this is what it decided to do, and this is where I also started to notice it just randomly starts to make its own decisions. I don't know why it took away all the colors, though. Trying to fix this was a bit of a headache. It would go from one solution to another, almost ping-ponging from its supposed solution A to supposed solution B, and then going in between the two, and it really didn't want to generate a fix. It had two ideas, and it was sticking to those no matter what. I don't know. It's stuck in an infinite loop, and it's just doing something with this closed subpath. Where is this even? You know what it feels like while I'm typing this? It's like I'm maybe being too professional, but I'm like, let's look at the whole picture. It feels like I'm spending more brain power thinking about how I want to structure the prompts than I would for actually coding this. Okay, so it's thinking out a plan, drawing the wheel with 2 passes, each color, and then each one has a reward. It's going to have 6 always appear, no overlap or being hidden. Okay, it looks like it's doing something else. Cool. All right, we're slowly getting there. We now have all the colors again, but all the text is being displayed in the lines, the edges of the pie slices. Happy enough to call that progress, but this was turning into something that was more trouble than what it was worth, and it shouldn't have felt as difficult to get this pie wheel working, especially considering how simple and easy it was from a prompt perspective to get the timer to work. So I was confused. You know what? Maybe I have to go on Google and get it like a what's it called? Like a reference picture. Like I would do that for I put it all in the middle of one pie slice again. I was like, there's only a few fixes we have to do today. It'll be quick, 20 minutes in and out, and then tomorrow I'll have the bindings. Yeah, this is frustrating. And with the reference pictures from Google, it telling me, I got it. This is exactly what you want. You want to have the wheels of the slices in the middle of them, has a text just like this example image. I know exactly what you want. And it just wouldn't get it. No matter how I prompted it, no matter what words I used, Google Images, it was not getting it. And this bred even more self-doubt. I'm starting to blame myself. It's this weird thing where I'm like, am I just prompting it like horribly? But I feel like I've been pretty clear with the instructions. I even gave it a sample picture as a reference, and it seemed to understand it. It looked like it went on Google. I was like, oh, yeah, I know what you want. It felt like nothing I could say or nothing I could do would fix it. I was so tempted as a developer to just go in there and apply the fix, but of course, my hands were tied during this challenge, and I was not having fun at this point. I'm getting a little frustrated, getting a little frazzled. Should I do one in... Okay. I got an idea. I'm gonna take another screenshot. This isn't even vibe coding at this point. This is me using external tools to preview. It should go here. Yeah. So I'm gonna draw... This is not vibe coding. I don't think this counts as me breaking a rule because I'm not coding. I'm using preview to draw an example to send to ChatGPT. Okay, I'm gonna save this and be like, okay, where I drew the X's is where the rewards should go. This is hilarious. Okay. Alright, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. It has been 31 minutes of me trying to fix this pie wheel. I ended up giving up on the pie wheel for the day. Too much time spent on this, and maybe I'll come back to it with another day with a fresh set of ideas. It was time to fix the persistence and running in the background of the timer. I wanted to win today. I'll just say the timer doesn't continue when the app closes in the background. Also give it the setup just because I know we used the ChatGPT client to set this up. We've enabled background processes, I think is what it's called, when we set up the app. This went better than expected, and honestly reading through its decision-making logic and the way it was going to handle the timer and the background aspects of it was really quite interesting. I learned a couple things, so this was a lot more enjoyable than the rewards wheel. All right, so this is my recap for day 2. We got the timer to work in the background for the most part. The big portion of today's vibe coding was the pie wheel. I was even giving it reference pictures. At one point, I was on preview and I drew X's and said, this is where the text should be. And yeah, there's still a lot of issues with the pie wheel in general. Like, did it not just land on yellow and now it's saying take a walk? Am I crazy? Hold on. I honestly feel a little bit gaslit after some of the things today. So it landed on purple. It just landed on purple, I know it did, which would either be stretch break or social media. So it's not even picking the right thing. This confetti is blocking this wheel, also blocks a lot of the text. This is actually overlapping here. It should probably be up here. There's no like respin. There's no current way to add custom rewards. So there's a ton of work that needs to be done. I would say extremely unproductive after 39 minutes. That honestly didn't feel like I spent 39 minutes working on it. And this is where we started with the pie wheel. Scrolling. And this is where we did the timer. So yeah. Start of day 3, I had one goal. Get the timer working no matter where we were with the app. And honestly, getting there wasn't too bad. It was pretty cool to see its logic and the fixes that it was implementing. We even created a new, kind of model for the timer, and things were going really well until we encountered an error that would continue to plague us for the rest of the project days. But there's a lot of issues, and we even have an invalid redeclaration. Ooh, so it might be probably in a couple spots. So I'm gonna go to our errors, which we have 23 of. Look, I am no stranger to errors whatsoever, but this is where I started to know something weird, where it was saying, hey, I can't find your timer view in scope. And I was like, wait, that's weird. I didn't make any changes to the content view, nor did I instruct Clyde or ChatGPT to make a change in the content view to begin with. This is because it started to rename views, variables, state variables, bindings randomly. It would rename things, it would change where things were, it would make duplicates, it would redeclare things. I didn't make a single Swift file while making this project. It made its own Swift files. It has the ability to look at the entire context of the project, but then it would redeclare things. And my favorite part is what happened next. Okay, it randomly decided to just do an overhaul of the design. So if we check out the profile and stats, this also needs a little bit of fixing. The accessibility here also isn't fantastic, but we can fix it. All right, so let's go ahead and start a focus session. Okay. All right, on its own, decided no more static design, as well as I'm changing the links to the focus session and the reward wheel. Okay, so yeah, at no point did I instruct it to redesign our page.
I believe the only thing I asked for it was to, on our home screen or that content view, to add a navigation to the profile view. And when it got that prompt, or somewhere along the way, it decided, you know what, this design, get rid of it. Oh, by the way, the links to your other views, get rid of it. This is what they look like now. I did, after some time, get it back to kind of where it was before, but it also didn't look the same. It was just weird. The fact that it went off on its own and went rogue didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And this was just the tip of the iceberg for the AI going on its own and being a little bit delulu. But I wasn't going to stop there. We needed to make sure that the timer would run regardless of if it was in focus or not. So I was determined. And thankfully, with Clyde's help, we were able to get the timer to work in the background while the app was closed or when the other screens were in focus. So that was a major win. The next thing I wanted to do was to write some tests to ensure that the stats were being transferred and recorded and tracked properly for the profile view. All right, looks like it's figured out the timer, so I'm going to call that a W for the day. Now, the statistics. I could leave this running for 25 minutes, or we can write a test, or we could do both. So let's go ahead and hop back over here and say, can we write a test to ensure that the profile stats are working for the user? Well, it understood the ask for the test right away, but then we started to experience a little bit of an interesting error. We put it just in our normal folder, so let's see if it actually knows to move it to another folder. Let's update this accordingly. Okay, I guess it'll just do it with XCTest, but no such module as XCTest. I wonder if it'll just be like, hey, make sure you have testing enabled, which we should. This is where the vibes went really bad. Essentially what was happening is it couldn't figure out that the issue we're running into is the app target wasn't set correctly. It didn't instruct us to take this testing file and change the target to our tests. Instead, it thought it was just an error with the XCTest versus testing import. And if I didn't know any better, we would have been stuck there forever. Essentially, at the end, I ended up saying, hey, is there other things we should check out? Or is there another method we could try? And it then gave us the instructions to be like, oh yeah, set the app target, by the way. It's like, cool, thanks. Upon encountering an infinite loop, it was totally content to just error fix those two things to no resolve forever until I somewhat intervened and got a little frustrated. But we got the test to work, they passed, and we then tried to wrap up for the day. Alrighty, seems like we had a pretty successful day. We do need to re-add the app icon and maybe like a little bit of description of what the app does on the main page. We got honestly, like the main heart and soul of the app and the big thing that we really need for it to be successful, which is the timer to run when we're not in view. And if we close out of it, it was 24:51 when we closed it. We'll just give it a few seconds. There we go. So no matter what we do, the timer does continue to run in the background. So that's a big improvement. I think even if we get a W, a win every single day, by day 7, we should have something that's like kind of feasible. That's the goal. So I'll see you in day 4. Starting off day 4, I had a fresh new mental. I was feeling great. I could recognize we had some wins yesterday, and I really wanted to get the notifications to be set up and working today. That was my goal. But there is our timer. So the next thing we should do is, upon completing the timer, let's have a notification. All right, and what I like this time is for the request notification permissions, it's actually being very intentional about saying like, hey, make sure that we are good to go. So the app needs to request permissions. This is usually done at app launch, but you can also prompt as needed. So Clyde handled this perfectly, and on app launch, we do request permissions from the user to have notifications. So really great start. All right, and we can see when we've opened up the app, reminder timer app, I'd like to send you notifications. We can go ahead and allow that. Now we can run this. We can have it go for 25 minutes, but I'll probably want to use the simulator again to test things. So we can either write a test to ensure that our notifications work. Otherwise, something that I actually typically like to do is to add like a little button just to test the notification. Clyde was on an absolute roll. The implementation of the notifications worked flawlessly. Let's run this test. I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna close, and we should get a notification that pops up on the simulator in a couple seconds. Oh, your 25 session is over, time for a break. Woohoo, and now we can actually see what it looks like when it's over. Now, if I start the timer at 000, this is another thing we need to do. This was the peak of the vibe coding experience. Now we just had to improve the user experience. Maybe also at the end we have confetti. I felt unstoppable with the vibe coding today. Everything was going right. We even added confetti to this page as well, and it looked sweet. So let's go ahead and do our test notification. 4, 3, 2. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted with the confetti. Yeah, I like this where it's like, okay, I can start another timer. Okay, so I think I am going to go with the token approach to where it's saved. Every time you do complete that timer, you know, you can get a token. The token idea was just something I came up while developing and vibing. You know, that's the cool thing about vibe coding. Very focused on design. But this is where we encountered an error. So I thought it would be pretty easy. Every time that we complete the timer, we already have the timers completed stat being tracked. So what's adding another stat? Well, apparently Clyde did the Clyde thing again and decided to throw a whole bunch of errors. And again, it was these weird errors where it would rename, change things that had nothing to do with the tokens, aka the prompt or the ask. It changed it completely. Our test files and others suggest that are expected to exist, but they're missing. It keeps doing this weird thing where we're doing a fix or a change for something. So like on our timers view, adding the notification or every time it's completed, they get a token. And then it's looking at like the profile stats view in this case. And it's like, oh yeah, the timer's complete, total minutes, last session date. You don't need that anymore. It's like, but I didn't instruct you to remove it. And why would that interfere with what we're doing? After tons of error fixing and renaming things for no reason, we were able to get it fixed and passing along the tokens. Again, weird things like instead of seconds passed, it changed it to time passed. Why? It was working before. I didn't get it. But we were still moving the needle, and we even added a little bonus notification upon completion. We'll probably also have it play a little bit of fanfare. You earned a spin token. Congratulations. Great. Now we can go to the rewards wheel. This is a whole can of worms. This might be a Sunday, aka tomorrow problem. It also doesn't look like it's counting the completed timers. Even though we ran the test and it said that it should be working, but it doesn't seem to be at all. But again, maybe all the variables changed and it's just like, I don't know, what are you actually tracking? What are you actually showing? But we got the tokens to finally display on the profile page, and I also thought, hey, why don't we spruce it up a little bit? Some frustrating moments, as I mentioned before, but we were at least moving forward today. All right, not terrible. I kind of like it. Although I'd probably use a different chart for this. Next step was customization. I wanted users to really be able to make the app their own. So from adding and saving a custom name to even uploading a custom profile picture, I thought that would be a nice touch. And I wanted to see how Clyde would handle the design of that. And upload a custom image from their photo library. I believe on the simulator the photo library is pretty limited, but we can just grab it off the internet if we want to make it cooler. Oh, maybe we can like find the image of Clyde from the Discord bot thing and put him in there. Honor the developer. There we go. We got a picture. Okay, loading. There we go. Let's go back. Okay. The image and name are not saving across, loading the view. I was back on the I love vibe coding train. Clyde just knew exactly what I was talking about. Piece after piece, adding the images, the customization, eventually even getting it to save. Clyde knew exactly what I was talking about. Okay, profile stats. Tap to change photo. A little bit blocking. I do like this little pencil. Don't know if maybe it's on the other side. This is where Clyde's School of Design really started to be apparent. There was a lot of issues with layout where things were positioned, even elements clipping and overlapping. So I was determined to get this profile page way more usable because it was so close to being good. I felt like after I added the color picker, I flew too close to the sun. All right, well, I'll try again tomorrow. Clyde probably just needs a break. I broke him with the screenshot. But I'm happy with how today went. We made sure that the notifications work. Here we have like the little button to test. I love doing things like that personally, especially when you have a 25-minute timer. I'm not going to sit there. Oh, our notifications don't work anymore. I wonder if this notification or this alert is breaking it or it removed it, which is another thing I want to talk about today. I don't know why it randomly renames existing things. So previously it had called these remaining seconds and it took all of the seconds and just removed one every single time. Then it decided to rename it completely to remaining time instead of remaining seconds. It also renamed and changed the stats that we were tracking when I didn't ask it to do that, or to really confuse itself and in turn confuse me why we had so many of those errors. But we're pushing through them. I'll continue to be very specific with my prompts, and yeah, I think we got a good thing going here. Day 5. So there's a couple bugs we need to fix. Our design's also lacking. Honestly, in retrospect, not a whole lot happened on day 5. It was just a lot of putting out fires. A lot of mistakes that happened at the end of day 4 just need a little bit of fixing. So first matter of business was to get the notifications working, and through talking it through what was happening, what I'd like to see happening, Clyde did a really fantastic job, and maybe only took about 10 minutes to get solved, but we got it solved in the end. Because it looks like it literally at some point removed the notification timer, even though alright, whatever. Okay, so 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I can come back here. Okay, we have both now. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. We got there. Clyde, why are you removing random things from the code? Doesn't make sense. Next thing, the rewards wheel. I want to focus on the logic of this because working on the front end and the design was giving me a legitimate headache. So, great progress so far. The next order of business was to work on the back end of our timer a little bit more and to duplicate the timer logic. So when we did earn a reward, to be able to set a timer for that as well. So if we had the, say, take a walk reward, we can set a 5-minute timer, and then in the future optionally have it be a toggle between a long break for 15 minutes or the default short break of 5 minutes. So I gave the instructions to duplicate the timer logic we've already created, and I referenced those Swift files in order to have a reward break. Okay, so we still have our timer here, great. So when we view the rewards, we should be able to spin the wheel. We'll get a random reward because this doesn't work. Cool, let's start your break. Take a walk. Maybe I'll make this a respin option later, but if we do the start timer,
I don't like how there's 2 back buttons here, so we'll make note of that. Looks like the timer logic works, but maybe we will want a test button on this page as well, just to ensure that everything works.
Absolutely on a roll. The next order of business was the notifications, and just like with replicating the timer logic, I made sure to reference that we already have these notifications and little pop-up logic that was working, so all we had to do was replicate it for this timer. Easy, right?
Ability in mind. Okay, view rewards. Don't know why that's still there, but maybe it's just in both places. Let's start the timer. Okay, and let's do a test notification. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Long break complete. You finished your long break. Oh, and it actually boots us back. There we go. Sweet.
We are staying winning on this project. I've noticed that the results and the vibes really ebbed and flowed with really high highs and really low lows, and I was riding the high, so I thought, hey, why not try something else out?
All right, big ask here. So essentially, I want Clyde to create a navigation that users can customize and edit all the rewards. And we'll also need to make sure that our wheel later on is dynamic. So I've given it the number of 10, up to 10 rewards, and it should have like a kind of a list. You can add or remove them, and we'll be apparently using user defaults. And we'll also have some default rewards if they haven't customized it yet.
Clyde had been doing so good all day long, and you'll notice a little error pops up. Wonder what happened.
Okay, things were going pretty well until it duplicated the view. So in the same action where I asked it to make the custom rewards view, it made it both within the reward timer wheel view and its own view, and then duplicated itself, which is just now causing a billion errors.
Up that again. So my goal shifted. I really just wanted to have something compiled to show off for the end of the day, so I was just determined to fix the bugs and get something that would run, and then do a quick recap.
The rewards wheel, do not take a look at the rewards wheel, my goodness. We have like a once per day. Let's say you spin the wheel. We also need to make this token gated still. You can also respin. So let's say we have the treat yourself. We then get taken to a 5-minute. Well, actually this isn't working anymore again, even though it was working earlier. Great. Never mind, let's fix that later. We also have the settings here. We can customize the rewards and you can choose up to 10 of them. Apparently already, good job, Clyde. These already do update on the rewards wheel, which is super duper scuffed. But as far as I'm aware, if we do add more rewards, it's still not updating the... Oh, is it? But it's updating with colors. Okay, so it is adding more slices of pie, but the colors are still a little bit borked. Lots of work that still needs to be done on the reward wheel. Also, apparently, when this is not saving properly, it's not saving properly, even though it should be saved in user defaults. I was like, wow, we accomplished a lot today. And then the logic just isn't working again.
So yeah, that's how we ended off the day, by thinking we fixed it and it just being broken. Let's move on to the next day. Day 6 honestly was a flop. I'll save us a lot of time here. About 90% of the day was trying to get persistence to work before core data somewhat worked, but it was doing some really weird things with persistence using methods I would never have dreamed or thought of. I'm just going to show you also real quick what we had to sacrifice to get core data to even remotely work.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about, man.
Again, along the way, it threw design out the window. It removed even the ability to get to the timer once it was finished, the option to edit things. It was just self-destructing. Eventually, after way too many prompts and so much time spent, I got the visuals to somewhat work and dynamically update. It was something. Along the way, it deleted and killed all the confetti. And despite Clyde trying like 8 times and saying, oh yeah, the confetti works, it didn't work. So, yeah.
Nope. Alright, the confetti still doesn't work. As much as Clyde has says, this absolutely does work. It unfortunately does not rain confetti down from the sky. We gain persistence. It's like I'm making sacrifices, even though it should just be, hey, let's just, let's add some persistence. It's like, no, I'm gonna just change things that don't need to be changed. Weird. But tomorrow's the last day, so I'm curious how it turns out. If anything, we have a timer that works.
I thought for sure, there's no way the last day, day 7, could go worse.
Prepare for your break. Let's just start the break. Oh my god.
I didn't tell it to change the design at all. And you know what I didn't tell it to also change the design of? The timer. Let me show you how that one looked.
All you could do is finish and reset? Oh my god. How do we get out of here? We're actually stuck in an infinite loop here.
But I figured, you know what, maybe I'll make it look good. I'll give it the explicit prompt without changing any functionality. Make our homepage app store ready. At least make it look good.
Alright, here is the final version of Focus Flow. I kind of dig the gradient background, however, and maybe because I didn't say explicitly with accessibility in mind, when we have this more blue, it's okay when it's on the pink, but the name's kind of hard to read. See how we go more into this blue with this gradient? It's kind of hard to read that this is Focus Flow, but I do like this menu page, start focus, but then it gets cut off here. Okay, let's go through everything one by one. Oh, it even has a little copyright thing. Oh, that's cute. I really like that, but then why do we have focus app? Anyways, okay. You gotta be kidding me, Clyde. You have got to be kidding me. I just want to go back really quick. Without changing the functionality, give me a polished App Store ready home screen. Without changing the functionality, which is apparently it took that and said, oh, you don't want to navigate anymore. I've got you. Okay. Because before, the functionality was navigating to these different screens. Essentially, I have a brick right now.
And you know what the best part is? Tried to fix it. And let me show you the end result. I may have been a little bit tilted.
Jesus. What is this? What is this background? Oh my goodness. I can't. Wait, is it gonna lock into place? Dude, that's sick. Oh, it gets to the corner and then it stops. Oh, and look. The buttons still don't work, by the way.
I was done. It has been a nonstop cycle of just messing with things, lies, the fixes that just make things worse. I was at a wit's end, and I was calling it there. The other pages, they still had some functionality, but it felt like an uphill battle. Every step that we took forward was 2 or 3 steps backwards at one point. I was feeling so defeated.
What are my thoughts on the challenge and the experiment? I thought it was pretty fun. Honestly, I actually looked forward to kind of doing this for half an hour or so every single day. It started out really, really strong, and then there was obvious hiccups. The way that I would use this is think of this AI as an assistant. It's not here to replace coders, and especially not designers, like front-end designers. Oh my goodness. Use it as an assistant, because I could see so many times, especially with the reward wheel, it got like the spinning logic and it got like the dynamic slices of pie. If I were to go in there and just apply a couple tweaks, apply a couple fixes, this thing would be good to go. All right, I was doing this challenge with essentially my hands tied to not touch the code editor at all. But I think if you're using this as another tool, another resource to where you can be using these two things in tandem together, your skill and the AI assistant, your productivity, your workflow, you're going to find ways to make it amazing. So this is not a tool to be used as a replacement. It's to be, how can I learn how to do this concept, or provide me with a template, or walk me through the logic. There's a lot of great tools. However, in my personal experience, you cannot fully develop an app or iOS using SwiftUI. What day is it? In June 2025. Well, I guess this day of recording this is July 2025. Happy Canada Day. You cannot do it. There's too many pitfalls and limitations, but I also think that's a great thing because we still need human idea, human ingenuity and spirit in order to develop. So for those of you who are scared of AI taking your jobs, I would say don't be scared. Learn how you can utilize these tools to level up your skills, make your coding easier, better. But if you sit there and think you're going to make a fully functional app, you're probably sorely out of luck. If you wanted to make a page here and there, sure, like the timer, it did a great job of making that timer. But if you have a one-page app that does one very, very, very small thing and you want to optimize it to be extremely well, yeah, you could probably use AI to realistically make an app with multiple pages, persistence, variables and bindings that are tracked and talk to each other, something that you'd be proud to put on the App Store. AI is not there yet. So I hope this video was enjoyable. It was pretty fun to make. Thank you so much for watching, and dream big, code bigger, and we'll see you in the next one. Like and subscribe, because if you made this far, clearly enjoy the content, right?